Hello, President Reagan. Can you spare me $1? No. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I can't afford bootstraps. I can't get a job because I'm disabled and unable to receive support due to your budget cuts and deregulation efforts. Your tax cuts increase my taxes as someone from a lower income bracket and put me on the streets. As a result of OBRA, legislation you enacted to reduce federal spending and give authority of social programs to the states. Now, I have nothing. Good luck! In Chapter 9 of our textbook, we learn about the rise of conservative politics that came to dominate the American culture, especially through Ronald Reagan. Through his use of supply-side economics, budget cuts, tax reductions, and deregulations, the country experienced effects such as the oppression of vulnerable groups, economic problems such as wealth inequality, and a reduction in civil rights. In the 1970s, the country had been under Democratic leadership and Democratic economic policy for some time. However, voters were losing faith in the Democratic Party for a variety of reasons. For one, there was stagflation, which is the combination of inflation and unemployment. This led to a lot of economic distress, especially in lower class and blue-collar workers. Secondly, many Americans were uneasy about the acceleration of civil rights and justice for people of color and other vulnerable groups. This gave an opening to the Republican Party to go after white blue-collar workers, traditionally Democratic voters, to offer them economic change and to decrease affirmative action programs. The ideal man to play on these concerns was Ronald Reagan, a former actor skilled with charisma. He supported federal tax cuts, increased military spending, and cutting social spending. He was a proponent of supply-side economics, also known as trickle-down economics. The basis of supply-side economics is that a healthy economy needs investment capital from affluent people. This would keep money in the economy and grow the economy. But if investments are highly taxed for the affluent, they will not invest in new companies. Instead, they will buy luxuries for themselves, not contributing to economic growth. So, in this theory, we should cut taxes for the rich so they can make a profit off of investments, thus growing the economy. Reagan campaigned in 1980 against Jimmy Carter and won a landslide victory. Now, let's get into some of Reagan's policies. First of all, budget cuts. Reagan was able to pass the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, or OBRA, which gave power to the states for social programs and spending. He also cut programs and increased eligibility requirements that were specially for low-income populations. For example, he made 1 million people ineligible for food stamps, and he cut the urban low-income housing budget by 57%. While Reagan wanted to decrease funding for social programs, he increased military defense spending by 160%. The next main policy Reagan had was tax reductions. Tax cuts were given to those of higher economic brackets rather than lower. This is in line with supply-side economics, the belief that money would trickle down into lower income brackets through the economy. Reagan also reduced regulations, such as those from OSHA and the EEOC. These regulations tended to be civil rights and equality related. Finally, he appointed officials who did not favor affirmative action, such as Clarence Thomas, to oversee its enforcement. Overall, conservative policy resulted in overall tax rate increase for the poor, which was an increase of about $130 per taxpayer. People also suffered from a lack of government programs through budget cuts and changes in eligibility requirements. Working Americans' paychecks were also eroded, meaning they were less valuable and had less benefits from their job. Affirmative action was undermined as well, and women were still suffering inequality. Many other marginalized groups were oppressed. More information can be found in the chapter. In the end, supply-side economics helped the rich more than the poor, and the cutting of social services to increase military spending left many vulnerable groups more insecure and with less support. Conservatives of today advocate for similar policies and the cutting of policies. Recognize how these things have worked in history, and as social workers, be involved in advocating against policy that harm the people we need to help the most.